Welcome to This Explainer. Today, I want you to picture me sitting right across from you as your personal financial advisor. We're going to dive into the silent retirement gap and the 10% blueprint. Look, I know you're driven, you're working hard, but there is a very silent, very real gap between your financial goals and reality. So let's pull back the curtain and make the math of wealth building completely transparent.
65 grand. That's it. Right now. That is all the average American has saved up for retirement. Think about that for a second. We're talking about this sum total of decades of hard work for the typical person. This number shouldn't just surprise you, it should serve as a massive, glaring wake-up call for your own financial planning. Because here's the thing, falling short isn't just bad luck. It's the result of a series of decisions, habits, and silent assumptions that people make early on in their careers, completely unaware of the long-term consequences. Now, contrast that 65 grand with our true benchmark, $1 million. The actual recommended goal to retire comfortably is over $1 million. The gap between 65,000 and $1 million is absolutely staggering. And bridging it, well, that's going to require immediate, deliberate action. You cannot just accidentally stumble into $1 million. It requires highly intentional planning. So how are so many people falling so dangerously short? Well, let's break down the terrifying reality waiting for someone who's just a decade away from retirement. If you have that median balance of around $134,000 and you pull a standard, safe 4% a year, that leaves you with just $446 a month in income. Now compare that to average retirement expenses of $4,500 a month. I mean, $446 barely covers a few trips to the grocery store, let alone rents, utilities, or major medical costs. Clearly, something has gone terribly, terribly wrong here.
So as a young professional with time on your side, you're probably asking yourself, why do so many people fall into this trap? If the math is so glaringly obvious, why do 90% of people fail to retire comfortably? The answer is incredibly simple, but man, is it heartbreaking. They just wait too long to start planting their seeds. We spend our 20s saying, oh, I'll start when I make more money. Then our 30s arrive and it's, I'll start when life settles down, which, spoiler alert, it literally never does. And suddenly we are 55 with a massive gap that simple math can no longer fix. To fix this, you absolutely need to understand how wealth actually grows. Think of compound interest exactly like a garden. Step 1, you plant your initial investment. That's your seed. Step 2, over time, that seed grows and sprouts leaves, which represents the interest you earn on your money. And step 3, this is the magic part, those leaves eventually drop entirely new seeds back into the soil, representing your reinvested interest. This compounding cycle repeats automatically. Your money makes money, and then that new money makes even more money. But for a Gordon to grow massive, those seeds need time in the soil.
This is exactly why time is your absolute greatest asset. Let's put two investors head to head. On one side, an early investor puts in just $300 a month from age 22 to 32. That's just 10 years of planting seeds, and then they stop entirely. On the other side, we have someone who waits until age 32 to start, and they invest that exact same $300 a month all the way to age 62. That is 30 years of continuous grinding. Yet, the 22-year-old completely outgrows the 32-year-old. No contest. The early investor wins despite contributing for a fraction of the time, simply because their seeds were in the ground longer. Compound interest is ruthless, guys. It intensely rewards the early and heavily punishes the late. Now, as your career advances and you start making more money, you are going to face the silent killer of wealth, lifestyle inflation. This is the almost universal tendency for your spending to automatically increase just to match your rising income. It happens to almost everyone, and it is completely invisible until it's too late. It feels like you're doing better, but financially, you are just running in place on a much, much faster treadmill. Let's look at how this trap actually plays out. The average professional gets about 5 to 8 significant pay raises in their career. Each one of those raises is a golden opportunity to dramatically accelerate the growth of your financial garden. But instead of using that extra income to supercharge their savings, what do most people do? They upgrade their perfectly reliable Honda to a luxury SUV. They move into an apartment with a rooftop pool they'll use maybe twice a year. They suddenly develop a taste for $15 daily grain bowls. Their standard of living rises, which feels awesome, but their savings rate stays completely flat. This is exactly how high-income earners end up with absolutely nothing saved. They just inflate their lifestyle right up to their new paycheck. And to make matters worse, while you are trying to grow this garden, you have to fight off the weeds. $17 trillion. That is the staggering total U.S. consumer debt projected for 2026. We're talking credit cards, personal loans, auto loans. These are the aggressive weeds that choke the absolute life out of your financial garden. Every single dollar you send to a bank to pay interest is a dollar stolen straight from your future compounding. Let's ground this in a very real example. Making minimum payments on a $10,000 credit card balance at 24% interest doesn't just cost you money, it literally steals your time. Paying just the minimum on that 10K will take you over 27 years to pay off, and it will cost you more than $19,000 in interest alone. No way, right? Remember our compound interest garden? By carrying high interest debt, you are literally allowing the bank to run the compound interest math against you. Debt steals 27 years of your time, and in the wealth building equation, time is everything.
So the crucial point is this. You know you need to start early, you know to avoid lifestyle inflation, and you know you have to kill the debt weeds. But where are you actually planting your seeds? Because most schools teach the periodic table instead of basic financial literacy, tons of young professionals have no clue where to properly plant their money to protect it. They just copy what their parents did or leave it sitting in whatever random checking account their local bank pushed on them. But listen to me, financial literacy is one of the highest return skills you can possibly develop. You have got to move your money out of the wrong environments. Basic savings accounts are like standard clay pots sitting outside in the harsh elements. The growth is incredibly slow, and every time you earn a little interest, the tax man takes a bite out of it, stunting its growth. You need to move your money into tax-advantaged accounts like Roth IRAs and 401ks. Think of these as highly protective greenhouses. Inside these accounts, your money is completely shielded from taxes, allowing the compounding process to accelerate and maximize uninterrupted. Choosing the greenhouse over the standard pot is honestly one of the easiest ways to guarantee a much larger harvest.
Okay, let's pull all of this together into a concrete game plan. If you want to join the top 10% of people who actually retire comfortably, you must adopt these 4 specific habits. First, start early, even if it's just a tiny amount. Get those seeds in the ground today. Second, automate your contributions entirely. Set it up so money leaves your checking account and goes straight into your investments before you even see it. Saving should never, ever require willpower. Third, maximize those tax-advantaged greenhouse accounts, your 401ks and Roth IRAs, before you spend a single dime on lifestyle upgrades. And fourth, build an additional income stream beyond your salary so you can save more without feeling the pinch. None of this requires genius. It just requires consistent, intentional decisions.
And that brings us to the end of our session today. Look, retirement is not an age, it's not a destination that magically arrives when you turn 65. It is a number that you must deliberately build, dollar by dollar, decision by decision. The 90% who fail aren't just unlucky, they are just uninformed and unintentional. But you have the blueprint now. So take a deep breath and think about your next move. Are you going to start building your number today, or will you leave your financial future entirely up to chance? The choice is absolutely yours. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Now get out there and start planting those seeds.